सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। The 17th shloka, repeat after me. Upendro Vamanah Pramshuhu Amoghashuchirurjitaha Atindra Sangrahas Sargo Dhritatma Niyamo Yamaha. So we start with the 151st word. So the first three words which are indicated here are indicating one particular avatar. Bhagavan Vishnu has had the opportunity to come into the creation in various avatars. The avatara is different from a person realizing, because the person who is realizing does lot of effort to reach to that status. But whereas avatara is born with the knowledge of being the supreme. Whereas the jiva who puts the effort to understand and realize that he is the supreme is called jivan mukta. Whereas avatara comes into this world with the distinct clarity and understanding that I am that supreme. So in one of the avatars, he was known as Upendra. Now who is Upendra? Upendra is another name for Vaman avatar. Upendraha Indram Upagataha Anujatvena iti Upendraha. Indra was born unto Diti, and our Vaman avatar Bhagavan, he was also born to Aditi. And as he was born to Aditi, and he happened to be the younger one, born after Indra, therefore he Anujatvena, Anuja means a younger brother, Agraja means a older brother, Anuja, the dirgha in the end, means a younger sister, and Agraja means a older sister. So Bhagavan Vamana was born after Indra, therefore he is called Upendra. Upari Indraha iti api Upendraha. Indra means our buddhi. See, each one of these organs are presided over by one deity. Our buddhi is presided over by Indra. Though for the external world, Indra seems to be the boss of all this equipment, all the equipments of our body, mind and intellect, he is the boss. But even that boss, the Indra, functions only when he is closest to. that Paramatma which is the consciousness within. And because of that closeness or proximity to Bhagavan, Bhagavan is also referred to with reference to Indra as Upendra. Like we commonly see, Upasana means taking us closest to Paramatma. Similarly, here Upendra, Paramatma is recognized as Upendra because Indra is the closest one to Paramatma. Meaning the Buddhi is the closest one to the Paramatma, and with that Buddhi alone that we can transcend body, mind and intellect. Therefore, he is called Upendraha. He is also known as aka also known as his alias Vamanaha. Vamanaha Balim Vamana Rupena Yachitavan iti Vamanaha. Vamanaha because he had come in a young short form, in the young Vatu form. And Balim Vamana Rupena Yachitavan iti Vamanaha. He came in the Vamana Avatara to ask of Bali. And that is where in Hindi the word for sacrifice is Bali. Because the sacrifices that were asked of him, so the sacrifice itself got sanctified by his name. That we even today call it as Bali. We are remembering actually the original one after whom the word sacrifice has been named. And he readily sacrificed because he was the great devotee. Do you know who his grandfather was? Bali's grandfather. Good. Bali's grandfather was Prahlada. So Prahlada also comes down so pleased that usually it is the devotees who ask of the Lord, and here is the Lord who comes to ask of the devotee. And he readily gives all that which was sought by the Lord. And the Lord pleased, he requests Bali that the Bhuloka, the earth, can be ruled by somebody else, but the Patala, the lower worlds, has to be ruled with somebody as great as Bali. Therefore, he requests Bali to go look after the lower worlds for the Lord. So he is in that form, in that Vamana Rupa. He had come in the life of Bali, and he had asked him of these sacrifices. Yachitavan iti Vamanaha. And in Kathopanishad, there is a mantra, Madhye Vamanam Asinam. In our heart, it is that consciousness which is in the Vamana, as the Vamana, the most sacred one, seated, which illumines everything. That also is consciousness, is also known as Vamana. Upendro Vamanaha Pramshuhu. Pramshuhu Sayeva Jagatrayam Kramamanaha Pramshuhu. In the Vaman avatar itself, Bhagavan, after having asked 3 steps, that is one lesson to learn. Whatever, whenever we promise, fulfill the promise. And what is the wisdom? Never promise it to anybody. So he just asked for 3 steps. And Bali thought 3 steps, I have the entire earth. All that you want is 3 steps, please take. And suddenly, Vamana, Bhagavan Vamana, he grew in such a speed. And they say that when he put his foot on the earth, the sun and the moon were like his eyes. When he put the second foot on the heavens, the sun and the moon were to his waist. And when he put the third step on Bali, at that time the sun and the moon were around his calf muscles. So if you can imagine the sun somewhere around his calf muscles, can you imagine how big this size must have been? So he slowly, gradually grew in huge size. And the one and the only one who has that capacity to grow into this huge form from the small form, because he is pervading in both aspects of that which is bigger than the biggest and that which is smaller than the smallest. And such one is called Pramshuhu. Upendraha Vamanaha Pramshuhu. Amoghaha. Amoghaha, usually, the interpretation of Amogha is something like irreplaceable. The word Amogha is used in that sense. But here it is with little more depth to it. When we say Amoghaha, that for which, having been fulfilled, you feel that the purpose of your life has been fulfilled. Such an act is called Amogha. Very rarely we come across such situations wherein you are so inspired and your entire body, mind, intellect and entire being shouts out loud that that is the purpose, that is the line. And having accomplished that, you feel so at peace. And that feeling is called Amogha. So here, he says he is not just in the form of a being or in the sentient and the non-sentient or the insentient, that which has life and not that which does not have life, but even in those that which have life, that moment of inspiration, and everybody gets that opportunity. There are moments of inspiration. We just don't follow it up with hard work. We all get opportunities. We just don't follow it up with good hard work. That inspired moment, when it crosses our intellect, that inspired moment is called Paramatma in expression. Whenever in our buddhi we have the most inspired moment, that inspired moment is called the presence of Paramatma. Now, what is it that when achieved, you will feel Kritakritnyata? Kritakrityata, you have accomplished that which you are born for. There's only one thing. And that one thing is called, whether you call it God realization or self-realization, that is called Amogha. That Kritakrityata is called Amogha. And when we get inspired to take that path, walk that path, that inspiration as well is the very presence of Paramatma in our life. So now, there are various situations which could have led us to understand that inspiration. Like, for example, in Gautama Buddha's life, We all know Gautama Buddha's life. Until he was 16, he had never stepped out of his palace. The kingdom knew that the king had a son, but they had never seen him. Because very early, as soon as he was born, the astrologer had already predicted that your son has got an amazing horoscope. And the chart has 12 houses, and there is one particular house which is like the swinging house. Like even in our elections here, we have those states, right? The swinging states. Similarly, in our horoscope also, there is that swinging one, and which was quite pronounced in Buddha's life. If the life's incidents do not lead him to adverse effects, then he will end up becoming a great king. Such an amazing king that the entire world will remember him, and his glory will be amazing as a king. But if that adverse effect happens in his life, he can become the greatest monk, greatest sannyasi. Buddhism, the origin of Buddhism, Buddha himself was predicted by Hindu scripture. So his father took a special care that up until he was 16, he had not seen anything adverse. No failure, nothing painful, everything in the most glorious manner. He had maintained it that way. On his 16th birthday, the father himself, I've been holding my son. The father says, on your 16th birthday, son, whatever you feel like doing, I'll gift you that, whatever you want, ask. See, it always comes back to the promise. Because the father promised for the 16th birthday. And the son said, I have never stepped out of these four walls. And they were not just mere four walls. That he was not put in isolation. The whole palace was like running in acres. But I have never stepped out of this palace. Can I visit our kingdom? So in that day's tour, what do you call it here? Field trip. Getting into the kingdom was for him the first time. That was like a field trip. So he steps out. And his Sarathi, he keeps asking because he's seeing some such new wondrous things that he has never seen. So he keeps asking, what is this? What is this? And there are three incidents that shake him up. Just three incidents. And that one day of his 16th birthday, the first thing that he sees is somebody who is sick. Imagine, he has grown 16 years without seeing anybody sick. It is all coughing up, and it looks like a skin wrapped around the skeleton, looks very feeble. What exactly is that? He says, oh my dear Buddha or Siddhartha, that is called sickness, that is called ill health. His immediate next question was, would I also be going through it? Because it seems really very vulnerable state that he is not able to do anything or move anywhere. He's still alive, I can see it, but there is. So the Sarathi, he says, everybody born is quite vulnerable to go through that experience. So another experience that he comes across, he sees somebody who is old. almost like a question mark, bent down, walking on a stick, very feeble, walking very slowly. He says, "Stop, who is that? What is that?" He doesn't even know that it is a human being. He says, "What is that?" He says, "It's a human being." But why is this human being unlike us all? Can you imagine the kind of, uh, the brain waves on that particular day? They must have been really in an amplified state. And he, being a keen observer, was observing everything with a very, minute detail. He was observing it. It doesn't look like a human being. Why is that lady, bent so much? That is called old age. And she looks like a total different species because the skin is all, there are, what do you call that? There are all wrinkles all on the skin, and then, she is bent down, and that is old age. So his next question was, will I also go through that? Na anyo gatihi. Na anya gatihi. There is no other way. Everybody who is born has to go through it. If sickness doesn't claim your life before that, otherwise you will have to go through that old age. And then suddenly this charioteer stops his chariot, and there is a procession. There is a dead body being carried. So the sickness and the old age that you are talking, which will lead to this, is this what it is? He says, yes. Now what do? He says, the one who was living in this body has already gone. So the body will be cremated, burnt. And before Siddhartha could ask, now the charioteer had become smart. He said, yes, everybody's body will be cremated. Whether it is a poor person or an educated or an illiterate or a king, they will be cremated. Yours will also, when times comes, will happen that. The whole night he is not able to sleep. He is so restless. If something like sickness, old age and death can, take my life away and I am vulnerable to it, I don't think I am in a stable platform. I need to find that stability in my life. And these three experiences were more than enough for him to give that inspiration, that turning point in his life. How many times have we seen? Definitely we have seen more than once. All three of them. Does it feel any inspiring to us? Yes, well said. Momentarily, yes. And after that, it is lost again. There is Sant Goswami Tulsidas. How many times the husband and wife don't fight with each other? Is there a time or a phase wherein you don't fight at all? Is there a family wherein that thing doesn't happen? It's quite normal, right? When two individuals are put together, there will be that kind of a situation wherein there will be arguments, there will be discussion, there will be dialogue, there will be discussion, there will be argument, there will be fight, and there will be cursing each other stage. All these, aren't they normal? They are normal, right? Now, I'm not making it as a pre-assumed statement. I'm just asking clarification. In your experience, what do you feel? Is it normal? Don't tell me that you are not married, therefore you don't know. You have definitely lived in a family, so you have seen them, right? So it's quite normal. Now, Sant Goswami Tulsidas ji loved his wife so dearly that he loved Ramji only after that. That dearly he loved his wife. And there was never a situation for them to argue, fight, or anything. They had a very cordial lifestyle. And once she gets mad, and she was also a very sattvic lady, not that she was a very tamasic lady or a rajasic lady, and then she had this as a habit that she would scold him, and poor Namdev had her like that. His wife was like that. She just scolds him once. And all that she said was, in reprimanding him, that much of interest that you are showing in me, if you can show 10% of it in your Lord, He will give you darshan. Shame on you. And that strikes him somewhere very deep. That he doesn't respond, he doesn't react, he just walks out of the house, out of his in-laws' house, walks out and treads his path, and then suddenly clicks. It clicks in his head that, what my wife is saying is true. Instead of taking it personally, that moment was that turning point in his life, wherein that which has to be fulfilled, that inspiration was gained. So don't, start assuming, Swamiji, we are not into the spiritual path because we are waiting for that paramatmic moment. We are waiting for that amogha moment to happen. So now the root word here, amogha, muha or moha. Amogha, where there is no moha. The illusions have been completely shattered, wiped out, clean. Even when we have these inspiring moments, they are only temporary. Why? Because most of the time it is an outside factor, and what we get out from the outside factor is only a motivation. It just pushes us a little forward. When we were growing up, we used to have this physics books, orange color, Rusnik and Halliday. Thank you. Rusnik and Halliday. We used to have these orange colored book, and there was one classic question in that, was about a frog. There is a frog which jumps in from the well. It jumps up 2 feet or 3 feet, slips down 2 feet. In how many jumps would it cross? The depth of the well being so much, and the question. Our life is like that. In these moments of inspiration, similar like that, not exactly similar, that we jump 2 feet and slip 3 feet. The frog at least jumped 3 feet and slipped only 2 feet. We jump 2 feet and slip 3 feet. That we take it so personally, these things, that we get devastated. How can my wife scold me? First question. How can my wife scold me in front of everybody? Second question. Now, third question, how can my wife scold me in front of everybody, that to my in-laws? Naak kat gaya. Naak is like, I have been ashamed. I have been, ego has been, hurt. It's a very shameful situation. We make it personal. But here, Sant Goswami Tulsidas, he made it totally impersonal. Looked at it as a statement of fact. Understood the depth. Found the inspiration. Never to turn back again. Until he found his Rama. Many such occasions come. In fact, We are having this YEP course, and we just crossed 20. When there have been quite a few applications, of which we have selected at least 20 of them. One of the recent most, I don't know that kid, but the way he writes is that he mentions a movie in which the actor is he meets an accident and he is lying down in the hospital, and they're showing his internal turmoil that he is going through, and there is a monotonous voice going in the background as his turmoil. So there is this iceberg which is shattering, breaking, and it is like this person who is broken up. So there he reflects back into his life, and there are those 3 or 4 moments in his life wherein he had that inspiration but did not work on it. He had that moment, he had that opportunity, he did not work on it, and he regrets having lost those moments. And then they show his past history, that he is the editor or the managing editor of the top-notch fashion design, the what we call magazine. How do you pronounce it? ELLE. That's it. Must be French. Ha. No wonder. You can just write one L and done with. ELLE. And you still say it as L. Anyways. So he has a beautiful wife, and he has reached the top of his career, and he has beautiful kids, and there are a lot of people that love him, adore him. In spite of having accomplished all those, at that moment when it really matters, what is he pining? Having missed those moments of opportunity. That inspiration wherein he knew if he had worked on it, he could have turned. So this kid who has written that, he says, in my life, the first time I read that, yep, I found that inspiration first time in my life, and if I don't work on it, God forbid I end up in the same situation, I would be reminiscing about this moment then, which I don't want to. We had asked them to write an essay, statement of purpose, as to why do you want to join? And he comes up with this such a beautiful way to look at it. So when we do get that opportunity, what happens? Our moha, our delusions and the illusions born off of it, we are encompassed, we are swallowed by it. That the moment comes, we feel good, I should do something. After a cup of coffee, that one cup of coffee, barbadi kar diya. I'll do this, after a nap. I'll do this after a phone call. And that inspiration is gone. And it works in all different fields. When people are inspired, and that moment of inspiration, if they feel like giving to that cause, never say no. Because the moment they sleep on it and they come back, they feel little, I thought I should, but since I have already promised, I'll give you half of what I thought. Another couple of days delay, then that moment of inspiration is gone. And when you hit that moment of inspiration, I pray that when that moment happens in your life, that may Lord give you that strength and courage to drop everything else, courage to drop everything, and strength to work on that moment of inspiration and build your life to that. And the highest inspiration is to find that self within. That is the greatest kritakrityata of our life. And that moment of inspiration, that uh, is given as the Bhagavan's avatar in our own heart. Amogha, Upendraha, Upendro Vamana Pramshuhu, Amogha, Shuchihi. Shuchihi, Bhagavan is called the greatest, and he is the most clean, auspicious. Shuchihi. It does not mean that Bhagavan is constantly wiping with the, what is that you carry around? Sanitizer. That you shake hand and then you immediately take it out and I don't take things very personally, but I had gone to New York and there was this person that I met. It has left a mark in my. Usually I do namaste, and this person insisted that I should shake hands. And after shaking hands, immediately from the pocket takes out the hand sanitizer and cleans. I felt like getting there, stepping in, and then giving you. Do you think I'm that unkempt or unclean or something? You get my frustration, though, right? When I was reading it, I did not even think of saying it today, but that Shuchi immediately reminded me of that. If you look at Bhagavan Shiva, what does he wear? He is wearing a tiger skin. He is not wearing a the sandalwood powder or the sandalwood paste, the fragrant sandalwood paste, or he is not wearing the vanamala, the fragrant flowers. He is just wearing ashes. And where does he stay? Smashana Vasa. Smashane Vasati. The one who lives in the crematorium. And what does it have to say? That Shuchi is not about where or what. Because even in the crematorium, like one kid had asked, I was explaining the first shloka of our Guru Stotram in that class. And the kid said, if I understand this shloka right, what is the condition of a dead body? Is there Paramatma in that dead body? I said, yes, Paramatma is there in that dead body too. Because I believe that the one who lives is the Jivatma. But what about the dead body? If in both the sentient and the insentient there is that Paramatma, in the dead body is there Paramatma? Yes, definitely. But not in a format wherein we can recognize that Paramatma. Because in that format, Paramatma is in the existential reality. And that body cannot be retained in that existential reality, therefore has to be redistributed into its nascent form. When you light the pyre, the space is released. The entire matter, earth, comes back to ash. The fire is withdrawn. Even the body still has some inherent fire in it. That fire is withdrawn. The water in the body is evaporated. In fact, it is the most healthy process. You don't know what kind of diseases and what kind of things that we carry. And then we bury. It only becomes the cause for worry. Things can be contaminated. But if you burn, everything of these 5 elements are released into its nascent existential reality. So Paramatma exists in that dead body as well. That is why Bhagavan Shiva lives in the Smashana. Is Smashana Pavitra? Smashana also is Pavitra. But we may not have that kind of a mindset to see that Pavitrata. So the Pavitrata is not to do with just about the external cleanliness. External cleanliness also is required. Because very recently I saw a mother telling the kid and the kid refusing. And that was like a delight to my ears. The parents were telling, and you have to go early to school tomorrow. Why don't you take shower now itself so that you can wake up and just brush your teeth